Let's see. There we go. Hello, everybody. It is the Sights and Sounds of Earth right here on StarShip Adventures, broadcasting live worldwide on YouTube, the world's largest broadcast platform, and broadcasting live from a very hot and sweltery Starship Studios, where the air conditioning's down and the temperature's up. But it doesn't matter because I try very hard to never miss a show. So here we go. Tonight, Old Man Builds. We've got on Papa Bale and we've got on Joe from Old Man Builds. Remember, Old Man Builds, it's a channel here on YouTube, and we're going to put the links and everything right up there for you. But Old Man Builds is here tonight, and they are going to be talking to us about some new experiments that they're doing. Remember, they work mostly with gravity and anti-gravity using high-energy fields. And I had a bit of an epiphany about inertia and gravity last time they were on. So I'm looking for another epiphany tonight, guys. I hate to set the bar too high, but I'm looking for another epiphany. How you guys doing tonight?
Great. How are you doing, Ian?
We're doing good. And you guys, let me get the chat room up real quick because I need to make sure that you guys can hear all of us in the chat room. Please let me know that you can hear both my guests and myself in the chat room before we go. There's no sense in going unless I know.
Hello. Hi.
Yep, and I'm here too, somewhere.
All right, very good. All right, I see my guys are already in playing around. Don't pay no attention to the peanuts in the corner. All right, so anyway, here we go. Let's see. Can you guys? I just need someone in the chat to let me know that you can hear both the guys there and myself on the audio. I do believe you should be able to.
Yeah, we got thumbs up. You can sit and you can hear me.
Yeah, you got it.
Me too.
Okay, we're good, guys. All right, so tonight, what we're going to be doing is this is going to be an open format tonight. We have no agenda specifically. We've just got basic topics, and we're going to spend time on each topic and work our way down. These guys are working on a number of different experiments right now. And so, yeah, it's going to be a great night. News-wise, there is no big breaking news right now. There was a couple of SCOTUS rulings that came down tonight. SCOTUS. Sounds like something you'd clean up after a sex party. But anyway, they apparently they had some stuff that went Trump's way today. They also had some stuff that certainly did not go Trump's way. And we'll talk about that if time at the end, or we'll hit it tomorrow. You guys can get that news anywhere. And let's see what else is going on. Not a whole lot tonight, but so we're just going to go right into the scientific discussion that we're going to have here tonight. And I do appreciate everybody being here. Dispatch and Yanni and Deploribus and Matt. Thank you to all my moderators. VTX. Thank you guys out there. I do appreciate it, and thank you to all my members and viewers for being here. Please hit that subscribe and that like button. All right, guys, let's get right to it. What's our first topic tonight?
Right on. So, I was talking to Papa Bale over there, and he is doing some really good, experiments with what seems to be like nearing on perpetual motion. So I'm really interested in seeing and hearing some of this, maybe doing a little breakdown analysis and checking out what Goods he's got going on first. So take it away, Papa.
All right. Well, it's kind of a self-running electromagnetic rotor. So you got your strong neodymium magnets on the outside, a stator-like. You got your coils on the rotor, and that all spins. That's initially what this is, but like 0 point, I gotta say this, like exemplify that it's an orientation to, like, if the neos are spinning horizontally, you want to put your core vertically, and you want to put your coil on that core vertically, so your poles are facing up and down, when your other poles are facing right and left, or in and out, if you get what I'm trying to say. That's the thing that I remember most about 0 point. And the thing is, with 0 point, when you put it right in front of the magnet, the coil, in that position, you get the least amount of energy. It's weird. And I mean AC and DC. Now, what I'm unclear of is if something else is happening at that point. And that's, I'm gonna flip my screen here, show you what I'm working with.
If you don't mind, while you're getting your screen set up, let me just take 1 second here, guys. For a lot of us are science guys in here, and a lot of us aren't. So let me just start with this. If you remember the theory, energy cannot be created nor destroyed. Therefore, any device that's using energy, when you add in the loss of that device, it will eventually stop running. So what we're looking at here is they're trying to build devices that break that law of physics, basically. They're trying to make a device that will continue to run on its own without introducing any new electricity to it through conventional means. Did I describe that properly?
That's
You
correct.
did wonderful on that. And let me tell you something. Everything you just said after Papa Bale's done, we're gonna tear that apart a little
Let's
bit,
do it.
and you're
A
gonna
little bit.
I'm gonna blow your mind with some stuff. But yeah, Papa, show us what you got going on.
All right, so I'm gonna explain the rundown you got 6 coils. 2 of them are 3 of them are bifilar and 3 of them are trifilar, and they're all hooked in series. So all those coils, you hook them in series with themselves, and then you hook them in series with the next coil until you're all hooked up. And all that had 400 ohms of AC electricity on the AC side of the bridge rectifier. So I can measure that. I can measure the ohms. And
Ohms would be the resistance.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And that's just the coil's resistance. So like no added resistor or anything like that. And then DC side, you go out the bridge rectifier and you go through this is weird though. The way I have the cap set up, I have a 50 volt, 3.3 micro. So it's a real tiny cap, but it's the reason it's moving like it is right now. It's a 50 volt cap, and then a 25 volt cap, and then a 10 volt cap, and then on the other side of that, there's a 50 volt cap, another 50 volt cap. So I wanted it to pulse at a really fast rate and maybe pulse at a higher voltage. And that's why I stuck the cap on the end. But what I was really now focusing on wanting to do, after all the caps, there's a reed switch. But after the reed switch, I wanted to put a neon bulb and see if I couldn't pull more energy through the bridge rectifier through the reed switch.
So Papa,
But-
let me ask you, when you give that thing a turn, how long does it run for?
It's run for up to 10 minutes, maybe a little bit. The last time I tested it, the longest test was 10 minutes.
Okay. And I mean, I think it's safe to say that if you were to spin that and it weren't firing on pulse, then how long would you say it would spin for?
2 minutes max.
But you think it would go for 2 minutes with the same spin?
I'd
Okay,
have to-
that's still
I'd
a
have
huge,
to try it.
increase. Yeah, still a huge
but
increase.
I think that the transference from AC to DC is legit. I think that this is what I would like to say. If I took all this off of here and just left the coils on for weight, so I took away the reed switch, I took away, the cap, all that stuff, took away the bridge rectifier, all those clips on there, take it out, take it all away, and spin it again. I bet you that spin might spin longer than this, but it won't spin like it's spinning right now. It won't cog. But I don't know. I've had some pretty miraculous spinach.
Some people don't like spinach.
Spinach.
I do. I like spinach.
I like spinach too. Greens especially.
All right.
So we'll spin it the other way, or I'll spin it the other way real quick.
So
then-
just so people understand, if it were not for the electronics he's got there, the diodes and things like that, if it were not for that, this amount of weight would spin for maybe 30 seconds to a minute at the most. but because of what he's got there, it's allowing it to spin about 10 times longer. So that's an achievement. I mean, we've achieved something that if you could build this technology even into the tires of your car, you'd get better gas mileage.
I believe that.
So this is something that has to do with the science of it a little bit, and I think that I'll say this, and then I think Papa Vale should explain maybe in like layman's terms exactly what it's doing, just for the audience. But this type of configuration, in my opinion, right, is not a 0 point energy type device, nor is it over unity. Okay, but what it does is very, very important because it's related. And what this is doing is it's a very high efficiency system, right? So despite the resistance that's seen as the voltage is created through the magnetic flux of the spin, it's also has to be perfectly timed, in order to maintain that that spin by pulsing a quick magnetic field as it's passing. It needs to create a repulsive force against the permanent magnet around the perimeter, and that's how the high efficiency is created. So all of your losses are ultimately going to be through the ohm count, like he said, of all of your components combined. The thing is that if this weren't actually reducing the overall resistance of the system based on its synchronicity between the pulse and the spin, if it weren't reducing that, this would still come to a halt very, very quickly. So there still is, a high efficiency effect that's being able to take place based on the synchronicity of the pulses in the magnetic layer, and the energy generation versus the energy discharge. That's your offset differential in this case that acts as a form of like secondary or tertiary resonance that would ultimately potentially reduce the resistance in the system overall. So if I kind of gave a little explanation as to how it works, but Papa's the expert on this stuff. So, I mean, did you want to tell people exactly what's going on here?
I would say that it is not 0 point at all. And one of the indicators of that is it's pole to pole instead of the poles being opposed, or I mean perpendicular. That's what I want to say. If the poles are perpendicular, it's more likely to be a 0 point device than if they're pole on pole like this. This is I mean, it is a pulse motor. It's a DC brushless motor. Well, actually, it's got a reed switch. That would be considered a brush, in my mind. That's like that's physical contact, pretty much.
It's physical contact, yeah. So it's not brushless. It's yeah.
Yeah. So, but I mean, just looking at what it is doing right now, I mean, you can like just feel that it's I don't even know if feel is the right word, but every time I see it go past like the 4 minute mark, I get excited. It's like,
well, something like that has no business spinning that long.
Exactly.
I mean, truthfully, I asked you that question before, and you said 2 minutes. And I mean, you again, you're the guy that would know. But I mean, if I were just to blindly answer that question, I would have said something like maybe like 30 seconds tops, or less than a minute tops. So,
with full-on lens, you're only going 25 seconds. Like when if the lens kicks in and you have it set up so that lens will take effect, you're going to stop almost immediately. But I believe the bridge rectifier is one of the big keys of reducing that effect. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else on there that's actually helping reduce that. And maybe the position of the reed switch that's very important. The position of the reed switch. And if anybody has any ideas for a different switch to put on this powerless rotor, I'm all ears, you know.
Well,
um,
that's a great question that you're posing, that because it's like we kind of I had discussed this briefly with Papa before the cast last night. Um, this particular system is all about tolerances and timing. Um, and if your spacing of anything is off, even 1/1000th of like an inch, or the balance of it is off by a couple hundredths of an ounce. Or if your timing of your pulse is off by 1/1000th of a second, what you end up getting is a rapidly diminishing return. So you end up
mhm.
with this situation where it'll run very, very well and at a high efficiency for a good long clip. As these differentials of these intolerances build, they stack up, exponentially, and they start compounding, and then it starts to also go through all the components and in orders of magnitude. So what you end up with is it going well for a while, and then once it starts slowing, then at that point, it's almost going to stop,
You know,
and it'll stop almost in short order because
it
they
sounds to
compound.
me like the answer to this one might be in the exacting specifications. We got to get that loss down to zero.
Exactly. Yeah, it's all spacing, it's all balance, it's all weight, distribution, and timing. So if you have the perfect ratio, of push and angular, and the angle of the polarity of the magnets, and all of it is in correct alignment, you all of a sudden will be reducing those intolerances, right? And then the efficiency will shoot through the roof.
Yeah, I've been adjusting the reed switch because that's one of the things that'll actually move. So
Yeah.
I moved that, I want to say to the left of the coil, and then I spin it to the right, and then I spin it counterclockwise.
It would be great if you could manufacture one using like 3D printing, where it would where every one of those would have its own little adjuster, so that you could
Yeah,
continue to tweak and tweak and tweak until you get that shit perfect.
yeah, I'd have to. You're giving me ideas. I like it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
if
that
you
would be
have
cool.
20 things, and all 20 things had a little Allen key on them, you could just go around and, all right, let's bring these out a quarter turn and see what happens. Because it sounds to me like the key to this thing is the exact proportions and the exact measurements and exact balance.
This is 6 magnets on 8 coils too. It's not like a perfect ratio there, but the drive is 2 coils. So the DC side of the bridge rectifier is 2 coils, and I think that one of them is a north and one of them is a south. Um, that's what explained why when I split the magnets 3 north on one side and 3 south on the other, it responds very well, even though it's running on a reed switch. It's weird. Um, it might just be momentum. It could just be momentum. I mean, like this is not momentum, but what I'm talking about may have just been momentum.
Well, I mean, there's going to always be a certain amount of initial force that you have to use to induce it to spin in the first place to get going. And,
Yeah,
that force, once you measure that, has to come right off the top of your efficiency equation because, you spun it. But at the end of the day, like we said, I mean, this thing would have stopped on its own a long time ago. So you're doing the right thing. It's just a matter of dialing it in.
yeah.
And then I think it's going to be it's the next great thing.
And even
So
if
this,
even if it produced very small amounts of energy beyond what's put into it, you could still build it to scale. You could build it huge. You know what I'm saying? And you could still get
yeah,
And like I said,
oh
I
yeah,
I see something like this being used anywhere where we already have something spinning to make it more efficient. Like
Exactly.
what if we put one of these on the front and back of a large electrical generator? and then the motor spins the generator up, and this process here tends to take the load off the motor. Doesn't keep it running. The motor has to keep running, but that would take a lot of the load off of it. Would give it better gas mileage because you're getting the advantage of it.
Yeah, I call that one the Green Monster. That's more sci-fi.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. You guys want to check this one out?
Yeah, show us.
Yeah,
All
what's
right.
that all about?
All right, so right now there's 4 magnets on the interior rotor, if you can see it. Might be hard to see. And I'm
Which
gonna.
way do you aim it?
So some of these are
It
like.
looks like some crude laser weapon from one of these sci-fi shows.
It kind of does, yeah.
I put this together with whatever I had.
So I spin it, and then the interior rotor goes the counter rotation to what the direction that I spun it.
Oh, wow.
And I don't think the camera really does justice to what's going on here.
Well, there's some blurring, but we can clearly see how fast it's spinning. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure.
and it looks like it has moments of acceleration too, which is kind of unusual, you know.
Yeah, if I had the other 4 magnets in there, it would be experiencing great acceleration. But I had to take the 4 out to play around. I love trying to get it to go forever, and you guys are giving me some great ideas to maybe incorporate into what I'm doing over there. Like have the coils be adjustable. I mean, that would be freaking awesome.
I know it's silly, but it's sort of like take like a watchmaking class, man. You know,
Oh, yeah.
like get all these tolerance issues. You know, like learn how to make things super precise. You know, and be able to identify imbalances, and then just sit there and, you know, with that knowledge, then to cross apply it to something like this. I know it sounds silly, but you know, that's when you cross apply the skill set like that. That's the best thing you can do sometimes.
Dispatch had a question for you guys. How much does each of these projects weigh in pounds? Just roughly.
The counter rotator, I'd say weighs about 7 pounds. I need to double up the toroid magnets on the bottom so it doesn't grind.
Yeah. Yeah, some of that stuff,
here,
including magnets, are pretty heavy sometimes.
Oh yeah, yeah. Especially when you have the 8 neos in the rotor in the center, then it's up to about 12 pounds.
All right.
Damn.
Hey, Lightspeed, welcome in. Welcome to the show.
Hello.
And Aaron, welcome in. Thank you coming on in to the show. Appreciate it. We're on every night at 9 o'clock. All right. And we do a multi-screen science and news show here. But tonight we have special guests. We're interviewing Old Man Builds. And we're watching a couple of machines here wind down that should have wound down about 8 minutes ago, but they're still winding down. So there we go.
I'm less Old Man Builds.
Okay, so we got Old Man Builds and we got Other Man Builds. Or would you prefer Young Man Builds? I don't know.
I don't know that I'm young, but
yeah, that's you're like me. I haven't used that word in a while.
yeah, I'm just less old.
Yeah, I'm
Less old
3/4
than
of
the
the
old
way.
man.
I'm 3/4 of the way to geriatric.
All right. Yeah, that's awesome. So
Yeah,
I mean,
no, that's really cool, man. Like, and you know what's neat is that, like when the patent office and stuff is like reviewing patents, you know, they have like massive issues with approving high efficiency systems. You know, and this just goes to prove right out of the gate that you know, these high efficiency levels are you know, like I'm not going to say easily attainable, but they're attainable. You know, with very simple, you know, common physics. You know, none of this breaks the laws of physics. It's
Yeah.
just using high efficiency and you know, good tolerances to exploit the fact that you know, permanent magnets exist.
Yeah. See, this
That's
is a
what's going on.
coupling experiment, and I'm gonna branch out from here. I'm gonna make it 3 layers tall with 4 discs in a layer. It's gonna wrap around here like this. It's gonna have a disc over here that's gonna wrap around here like that. And wow, man, if I can get them to all magnetically couple, that would be
Big, yeah, I agree. If all
huge.
those of your discs are the same, that's going to help with that.
So I'm gonna make them all like this. I'm gonna make them all like that.
Yeah, that thing's
Yeah.
good.
And then I'm gonna have the one in the middle be north-south, and I'm gonna run it with a motor, and it should spin the whole thing if we get like friction minimalized.
Very good. They're using a lot of those same coupling concepts in like magnetic transmissions and drives now, which is actually interesting. It's surprising that they didn't go gearless sooner.
Right, right. It's actually pretty stable coupling.
Yeah, it looks it. Yeah, very cool. So what else
Yeah,
do you have going on in the over there? Are you branching out at all, or?
uh, I don't really have too much more hooked up right now. I gotta like pass, magnets back and forth, and um, that's the huge part. The neos, man. I'm, I gotta buy more neos to build more stuff.
Yeah, they get a little pricey.
Yeah. So I'm working on a methodology to be very conservative with my money, so it's available when I need to buy magnets. So there is good.
I do a question on that. I used to play around some with magnets. I love magnets, and one of the things I used to do was, charge them up. You could there's ways you could charge them up, run some energy to them, and make them more magnetic. And then, of course, if you use one after a while, it'll slowly lose its magnetism. Do these processes you're doing here, do they cost you the magnetism in the magnets over time?
I believe over time they get a little weaker, yeah, but
Yeah.
I haven't had a magnet that is given out on me yet.
Well, I'm just thinking because one of the 3 or 4 things we have to really look at on something like this is replacement cost, time and service, duty cycle, things like that. I don't know. I'm
Yeah,
thinking of practical applications for this shit. I want to save money.
Well,
awesome.
what's interesting about neodymium magnets in general is why they're magnetic in the first place. So I guess it's a theory of mine, although it's kind of proven in paper too. But what ends up happening is like when you have those molecular lattice structures that build up, they lock the electrons in certain geometries. Okay, and those geometries are repeating throughout the molecular lattice structure of the material itself. And those energetic lattice structures, although fixed in their position, okay, emulate upper dimensional geometries that are the same vectoring as electromagnetism that's induced through like running, a current through a coil, for instance. Okay, so what you end up seeing when measure the field and everything is all the field lines, how they're spiralitic and toroidal in their nature. And that's if you were to zoom in on that field line, you would see that it repeats over and over and over again from the lattice structure. So they work in a coupling basis as well. Where it's fractal in its nature. Um, but it's that locking in of that of the electrons, in that specific geometry that allows it to be so highly magnetic in the first place, in my opinion. But what's the point of me saying that? Well, use over time, right? You can degrade it okay, if you're pulling the, electrons out of the lattice structure, which would have visible material degradation at that point, because now you're dematerializing some of the lattice structure in general, which would lead to a reduction in the magnetism. But as you're aware, if you break a permanent magnet, it just makes more little magnets.
Yeah, yeah,
Right? Why?
yeah.
Because
It's
it's
kind of like
fractal.
chopping up a cactus.
Right, right. It's fractal. So, if you smash the neodymium magnet into 10 pieces, you have 10 little magnets because all you did was reduce the size of the overall geometry, but the geometry still exists at the molecular level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
So it
using
doesn't
the
really weaken
signal
at that point.
generator to pulse 4,000 hertz to these cacti right here. And I'll tell you what, the amount of new growth on this freaking cactus is amazing.
Oh, well, I love cactuses, by the way. Wow. I live in Florida. We actually have a variety of tropical cactus down here that's growing all over my yard, called a bobwire cactus. But anyway, yeah, that's really cool. So you're stimulating the growth of it with an electromagnetic field?
Yes,
Oh,
and it
wow.
works. I blew my mind, man. These are like they're way, I do water them like every day. I water them every day, but I was watering them before I brought them in here too. And this growth is definitely like 100% tied to the frequency of 4,000 hertz.
Okay, so I absolutely love that you brought this up. And Ian, if you don't mind, and Papa, if you don't mind, um, Dispatch had asked if I could address one of the listeners' questions. And the question, although it's not exact word for word, it was something to the effect of, during like geologic, events such as like earthquakes, stuff like that. There's a static bias or something that's like, that occurs in the earth. Okay. And that this static bias that occurs, from earthquakes or plate shifting ultimately impacts the storms. So you get lightning and things like that, following earthquakes and other types of geological events. And how is that related? Well, it has to do with this energy exchange that occurs between the Earth and the atmosphere. So the atmosphere, right, and the Earth are kind of like opposite charges, if you want to think about it that way, right? Like the Earth would be negative, the atmosphere would be positive. And then what you end up with is this circumstance where they have to have this energy exchange all the time. But when the energy density levels get high in either side, it creates a high energy density opposite of it, and they exchange. And we see that exchange often through lightning, although this energy exchange is happening quite often. Now, if you realize that lightning is an arc, okay, and that arc has magnetism, okay, what you quickly realize is that by inducing a high energy magnetic field, okay, therefore reduces the resistance, okay, of the energy exchange between the Earth and the atmospheric energy. You follow? So you're actually pulling by creating a magnetic field around a plant. Okay, you're actually enticing the energy from the atmosphere and the Earth to increase that exchange rate in that locality, in that zone of the field. So it kind of one answer to one question kind of was also the answer to another, right? So it's just super interesting to think. And if you have the high energy potentials up in the atmosphere or the ground for that matter, and then you induce a strong electromagnetic field, you would also should technically be able to induce some kind of lightning strike if the density levels are high enough. So basically, you could aim that lightning to a certain degree, and I don't know. I think it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I love the fact that I put the two piezo's across the coil, and I was using those to transmit the frequency, and it was awesome. I just needed to hook up two piezo's, and then it played the music for me, basically.
Right on. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
it's so cheap and
those
easy.
are too, they're kind of like a energy potential current state equivalent to a permanent magnet. Sort of what the deal is, you know.
They work as a speaker too. That's awesome.
Hmm.
Well, at least for frequency, they work as a speaker. I put 40 hertz in for the brain, 7 hertz in for the brain, and it takes my headache away. So it works really smooth. It works for me. Not any of the ones that I've seen on YouTube or like the frequency that they suggest you use, I've heard is actually harmful. So I don't know.
I mean, so Ian,
Yeah.
what are you thinking about all this, man?
Well, I'll
Yeah,
tell you,
sorry.
I know that electromagnetic fields affect us more than we realize. I was a ghost hunter for a while. I ran a Florida paranormal research team here, and I did a lot of investigating on this stuff because I believed that there was something there to communicate with, and I still do. But that being said, we had a call to go help these people at their home. And they said every time they had a friend or family come over and stay the night, they would wake up at 2:30 in the morning and they'd see a woman sitting on the foot of the bed. And it's freaking everybody out. They don't know what to do about it. And it happens only in that one room, only with someone sleeping in a certain bed, and only at a certain time. And just through some investigating, we had all of our equipment in there set up. And right at 2:15, the pool pump kicked on outside. And the windings were bad in the pump, and it was putting out a huge electromagnetic field. And I mean huge. Our shit went whirr, and we walked out there, and there it was. It would run for about 2 hours and then shut off. And it would, every time it happened, we had the same thing at room 111 in the Clewiston Inn. We tracked it down to a faulty three-phase line that was coming into the hotel that ran right under the bed in that room. And the people kept waking up and seeing someone sitting on the foot of the bed. And so we actually know that, and I do believe in ghosts still, but a lot of ghost sightings are simply people's brains being stimulated or overstimulated by electromagnetic fields.
Right, right. Well, or it could be it could be out of phase consciousness too. I mean, if you think about it, when something kicks on, right?
Mm-hmm.
We all know that it puts out a lot more power when it kicks on
Oh,
than
yeah,
when
right
it's
at the
just
beginning. Yeah.
running right off, right? And during that time, there could be inductive resonance of an out of phase, you know, um, of an out of phase frequency band that basically opens up, the opens up the veil, maybe. Like, I mean, if you want to kind of think
That was
about it
the
that
other
way.
theory, was that electromagnetic fields cause a breakdown in the veil between here and there.
Correct. Yeah. So, I mean, I believe that there's
Or, and the third theory was, we always had three or four. The third
Well,
theory
okay,
was
let me
the
hear them because I'm interested in this.
okay, the electromagnetic field creates a condition in your brain where you can see beyond your normal five senses.
Could well be. It could be
So
subjective.
those are all thoughts. Was a disruption of the brain, which causes an illusion, or a situation in the brain where you believe that you can now, or where you actually can now see something that you normally couldn't see with your normal senses, and then of course, I think the final one is I don't know. We were trying to work on some other stuff where we were looking at the fact that this, and I'll tell you, we wanted to test this stuff out, but nobody wanted to lay there and get their brain irradiated. So it was kind of one of those things. But those were the three big theories. I can't remember the fourth one, but those were the three
I
big
got to
ones.
be honest with you. The one that the third one that you just said, I mean, I almost like that one better than the one that came to mind for me because I mean, the truth is the subjectivity of it
Yeah.
is massive, right? And we all know that we all run at certain frequencies, and
Yep.
that frequency is a
Resonance.
variable from person to person and from moment to moment within a person, right? So if you have a specific person at a specific frequency, who may well be like falling into resonance with this other aspect. Somebody else could be laying right there, basically on top of them or next to them or whatever, and experience none of it because it could potentially, not be in resonance with them. Or even stranger, it could have something to do with offset beat frequencies as well,
Yeah.
which is just a whole nother level of it. And this is really how deep it goes, because when you start breaking things down into geometry, which everything kind of boils back down to these higher geometries, you realize how many factors there are, and how everything is relative. And that's why Einstein was right all along. When it comes to experiencing reality, as we do, it's all relative, and yeah,
You
it's
know,
very, very weird.
after that experience, after these experiences, I started trying to figure, okay, if it's environment that causes this, so let's start working on changing the different variables of the environment. We started with temperatures. We would run a room up to 90 degrees and put a bunch of equipment in there. And then we would run it the next night and we would run it down as cold as we could get the air conditioner to go, 68 degrees, whatever. And we also tried it with dehumidifiers and things like that. We put plastic up in rooms and dehumidified the rooms. We did all kinds of stuff. We had a lot of success with lighting. We were using deep blue and an ultraviolet lighting, and the activity would double. Also, when we would use stuff really low on the frequency, like red and infrared, it would scare them off. They don't seem to like those colors. And we kept putting infrared cameras in all of our rooms that we were investigating. They all had one of our security cameras in there so we could,
Right,
right? What we found
right. Yeah,
out
you'd be
was
better
we
off
took
working in
that
ultraviolet.
infrared, we took the infrared out and we put in just ultraviolet, and the activity would go way up. They don't like red and they don't like infrared. They don't like anything down low on the spectrum. But the higher you go, when you get up into ultraviolet, even out of the visual range, it seems to stimulate. So I'm convinced that all the ghost hunters, all they wanted to do was walk around with boxes that bleeped and made noises and shit because they wanted to be like the guys on TV. I was trying to do some real science. I wanted to find a repeatable event that I could create by changing the environment to something more conducive to the other side. And that I kept trying that. We did things like, I have my guys tell me that this fire truck, the wheels kept spinning in this cemetery on this fire truck. They kept spinning and spinning. And I kept telling them, guys, it's the wind. It takes a very little amount of wind to spin those. They wouldn't believe me. So we built a plastic box around it, and the wheels never spun again. So I was into debunking, but I was also into proving. And I think that's what makes
right.
that's what
But
makes
that's
real
what being
science.
objective is. That's
Right.
what being
That's
objective
exactly
is.
it.
If,
Yeah.
if you're going to out there to prove something and not dispel it, then
Yep.
you've already, your bias is
Well,
in
you're not
full
doing
swing.
science. It's called entertainment.
Yeah, pretty much. But I mean, like for instance, I mean, with ghost sightings and stuff like that, right along the same subject, right? It makes sense why it more times than not happens in the dark. You just have a lot less interference,
That's a lot of it.
without, yeah, right. You have a lot less interference at that point, photonic interference, because you got to remember, no matter what they want to call it in physics, all it is energy. And
Yes.
energy is non-manifest while it's transient, okay? Which I always use this example, and I think it's super interesting. In fact, when I had this thought, I was like, oh my God, this just like messes with your whole worldview, I think. But the room you're sitting in right now, like, is dark. It's you are, there's no light in your room. the light is on the surface reflecting off of the objects in your room and the walls and the
Right.
floor and the ceilings.
Exactly.
It's only manifest at those points and then reflected. But where you see clear and nothing and you see through, well, there's no light manifesting there because it's transient.
Right.
You see, and that's all the interference. It's once you get rid of that interference, all of a sudden it becomes a lot
It's like we talk
easier
about
to come into.
you shoot a laser beam into space, and whatever beam makes it into open space will travel almost indefinitely until it reaches a solid object somewhere, or dust or whatever. But yeah, I think that's so amazing that that you guys are even into this kind of stuff. But that's really cool. I find some science folks are really into ghost stuff, but probably the majority are not. But I'm glad you guys are here with me on this because, like I said, I don't fall for much, but I've had enough legitimate experiences in my life that I absolutely believe in the afterlife. So,
I mean, like I feel like any human having a real human experience, to think that all of these thoughts and all of these memories and all of these ideas and all of this creativity and all of these, endless dynamics that are, and understanding and empathy and all these things that are just like conjured, to think that this is just a chemical response,
yeah.
that is an unexplainable chemical response.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That seems like the least plausible answer, I would have to say, out of a vast number of other things. I mean, I firmly believe that, we all have plasmatic life force, and that plasmatic life force is upper dimensional in its native form, that it stays upper dimensional through our life. And it becomes embodied through not the brain, but through your entire nervous system. And the nervous system is acting as an antenna of the coupling of this, upper dimensional plasmatic force, allowing for a portion of it, not all of it, okay, to actually exist in 3D subject to 4D pressure environment of reality, right? And it starts to get really strange about it because once you start to look at things like meditation and whatnot, gaining access into your subconscious, and the fact that your subconscious is so locked away, that's just because it exists where the majority of you exists, which is not even here at all.
Right.
It's
Right.
really crazy. That subconscious remembers every single thing that's ever happened to you, things that you didn't even consciously know. It's like the crystal, and I say this on Old Man Builds all the time, but I'll say it for your audience because it's super interesting, right? Like I have like this little crystal ball, and it's perfectly clear all the way around. It's quartz, right? Where's my camera? It's on that side today. There it is. But look at me. I'm upside down. And no matter where you look, no matter what point of this ball that you look through, right, you're going to see what's opposite it, and it's going to be inverted.
Our eyeballs do the same thing.
It absolutely does. So, but now this is where so your eyeballs, and that's great because that's where your subconscious connects with your vision, and it connects at other points too. But the point of what I'm showing you is this: this is continuously and forever recording every single happening around it, sound, light, whatever, and any activity going on around it, everything, every vibration. And what it all does is it all meets at the central axis point and flips. Now, here's what's interesting. If you bring it closer to something, okay, it'll actually flip the right way, okay? Now, if you start to bring it back, you could get it exactly to the point where it's about to flip, but, it's both flipped and not flipped simultaneously.
Right.
And then you could explore that world that lives inside the crystal at that focal point.
Oh, wow.
And what you see is two holes, that connect to one another with one image in its entirety on one side and the other image flipped in its entirety on the other. But here's the catch. You could, even though the holes are connected, you could never peer through one hole and see the other. Okay, that's because that point where it flips is not here. It does not exist here. It left the Planck scale. All right. It fell off the Planck scale. So all that information was just up, it was just resonantly and geometrically superior to our dimension. But that information was forever stored somewhere. And your eyes do the same thing, like you said, right? So everything you ever see gets stored out on that same thing, whether you consciously were aware of it or not. And that's a forever storage.
Wow, I've got one of those balls somewhere. I'm gonna go find it later. That is really cool.
Oh, yeah.
Will optics capture that, or does it have to be an eyeball capturing it?
Oh, that is the best question. So you can capture it somewhat with optics and it will explain what you're seeing, but you'll never see the same thing. And here's what's super weird. If you align it with your eye and the third object, and you're holding both objects like two lenses, the ball and another lens, and your eye, three lenses, okay?
Mm-hmm.
There becomes some kind of weird force, call it a force. It's a force that exists relative to the three objects, meaning that if you move one, you could actually feel the resistance and the coupling of it moving. It wants to move together once you lock it in that position. Very, very strange. You do it with a camera and you're looking through your camera, looking at your phone or something, then through your camera, it does not do that.
Oh wow.
Very, very strange. Yep.
Yeah. Sounds strange.
Yeah, because I was always into trying to capture things visually, and of course, when I was doing this 12 or 15 years ago, all this internet broadcasting was in its infancy. Just real quick for those that don't know me, I did this same thing 12, 13 years ago with 15 years ago with Florida Paranormal Research, and we had 4 different browser screens with Justin TV and a standalone chat room. And the problem we ran into was we could barely find computers that could do it, and all the people that wanted to watch us couldn't really find computers that wanted to do it. If I was doing that again today, it would probably be a hit because people would be able to watch all the different screens and stuff because we do it this way now. But that was in its infancy back then. And ghost hunting, I have found, and I call it ghost hunting. What it actually is it's, for me, it's the search of a repeatable contact with an intelligence. And I keep it very vague. It's not quite as vague as unidentified anomalous phenomenon. But that's about as that I am sure that is as vague as you can get on the planet right there. When you say an unidentified anomalous phenomenon, that could be Venus. I mean, it could be anything, dude. Anyway, all right. So,
You're right. As far as we want to tell you, we don't know what it is, but we'll admit it's not normal.
yeah.
And isn't it wonderful? Like, isn't that like the long term, the long definition of it? It's absolutely obscure and by design. So,
Well, listen, Joe, I know we're going to get back to you because you got a big topic that you want to do. But let's take 5 minutes. I want to, or whatever, I want to ask you a question seriously. We had talked before about a lot about anti-gravity and about inertial dampening, and then we went beyond that, way beyond that. What do you think now that we've got disclosure going on? We've had 3 big document dumps. I know that about 70% of what we saw, we already knew about. It just had never been confirmed. Buzz Aldrin spoke about several of these, and then he had to come back later and say, "Oh, I made all that shit up," because they were going to shoot him. But now it's out. We've got 3 dumps. We've got a 4th one allegedly coming, and I think there's going to be more coming. I personally think they may be grooming us up to some bigger things. I don't know. What do you guys think? What's your thoughts on where we're at right now compared to where we were last time you guys were on?
I'm thinking that first of all, I think that most of the stuff that's unexplained is probably ours, or we understand it better than we claim.
They would have to have that technology you're talking about then. Because some of
Yeah,
this shit, some of this stuff, the turns they're making at supersonic speeds, and then they're making like right turns and shit. We're talking 100 G's of force.
they're showing things in plain sight right now, and they're just either being vague or calling it what it's not. Like there's a lot of military technology out there right now that uses all the same technology that it would require to be able to do those things. I think one of the oldest examples is like an F-18 Growler. It's an electronic warfare aircraft, used by the Navy. And they call it a jammer, right? So if you're just a common mind, you're thinking, okay, this blocks a radar signal. Well, that's not what a growler does. What a growler does is it picks up on an enemy radar's frequency band, okay, and then it collapses the frequency band into a scalar potential, and then then turns it back into a waveform, by projecting the same signal at it. So once you collapse it, it turns into a state of potential. And then once you hit it with the same frequency back, it snaps back to where it came from. The thing is that it's got all of the output that built up during that cancellation time in stored potential energy. Okay, and then once it collapses that, it sends that entire signal right back to where it came from, and it blows the thing up to pieces.
Oh shit.
Okay, so that's what F-18 Growlers do. It's a jammer. Yeah.
A permanent jammer.
It's a permanent jammer, right? So that's
every
that's
time
right
someone says they're jamming us, I always see I always see Spaceballs where the jelly's running down the screen. I can't help it. They're jamming us. They're jamming us. Anyway.
But another example, and how they're just being so much more flagrant on this now, is during the early days of Iran. They're like, look, we're testing our new anti-missile stuff, and Iran was shooting off these cruise missiles, and they're like, they're showing it, and the rocket comes off of the launch pad, okay, and then you see a laser go up and down, which it doesn't do. All right, and as soon as it goes up and down, the rocket disappears. Okay, now what they've told you is that they hit it with these lasers and it overheats the thing and then disables its electronics and then it ceases to function.
Right, and it just falls to the earth.
Right, but when you engage the thruster on a cruise missile, there's no extinguishing the fucking cruise missile. That thing it's going, right. And even if you were to extinguish it, it's not instantaneous. You're not going to extinguish it instantaneously. But what you'll notice is that it gets extinguished and then it goes away. The shape goes away. Where'd the missile go?
It's some kind of advanced technology that we're not aware of yet.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they showed it. They showed it repeatedly over and over again from tons of different angles and tons of different scenarios. And they were just saying, look, we're hitting it with the laser. And nobody's asked me any questions about how these lasers travel down, then up again.
There's a lot of people that say that this entire disclosure thing that's going on is going on for a specific reason. Either contact's about to be made, or it's about to come out anyway, or something like that. But I'm starting to wonder, and some other people are wondering too. I'm not the first to say this, but I wonder sometimes how much of this is them saying, "Hey, look over here," as we do something over here with the balls, And I start to wonder if that's what's going on. Is, hey, we're going to give you all this, so maybe you'll quit messing with all this over here or something like that. Because they're giving us some really neat stuff, but again, they haven't really given us anything that is like drop dead amazing yet, really. We've got some new videos that are pretty good. We've got some different things. We've got some radar stuff that's neat. I've read through a bunch of it, but I think I and a lot of other people, I'm looking for the technology that we have control of. And that may
Yeah,
be part
I
of
think
disclosure that never happens.
I think that the truth is stranger than fiction.
Yes, I do too.
That's what I think.
Hell, the truth is
I think that
stranger than
I agree
fiction
with
right
that.
now. I mean, when it
I
comes
think
to
that the truth is
politics,
stranger
the
than
truth
fiction.
is stranger than fiction.
That's true. But yeah, no, it's I'm telling you, I think that the truth is stranger than fiction. I think that a lot of the stuff that you're seeing is either stuff that we've done or stuff that we understand, and that the quietest part is the truth part of it about like ET life and stuff. And I don't believe it's what anybody thinks. And they kind of were saying it. They're saying, well, like interdimensional beings and stuff like that, but what does that mean for humanity? Well, what it means is that we probably have something that they don't. You know,
That's the
the
scary part.
we have something that they don't, and it's something that they can't actually have. And what that is an embodiment. You see, remember
That
I
would be
said
about it
before?
because I do believe all these movies that show the aliens coming here for our water or the aliens coming here to eat us and all these, some great movies over time, V and different ones, Independence Day. But I start to wonder anybody that can travel between the stars or travel through time or travel through dimension. I think anyone that could do that could easily replicate all those basics of life. I think you're right. It has to do with something beyond that, like our souls or something.
Yeah, yeah, it's something that if they're interdimensional, well, what I just said before about being a plasmatic life force attached to a neurological system, right, means that we're also extra dimensional too. But
Maybe they're
we
us.
experience, but we experience the difference with us is that we exist here, and that part of us is locked away. You see, that part of them, the part of us that's locked away, is the only part of them that exists, I think. So they have to, like I feel like there's like a jealousy or a superiority thing because they actually they want to play in this dimension because this is the dimension where things become material, and there's no material world there in the same respect. They're actually part of the same geometry. We make up their geometry, but they don't have full access to the playground like that, and therefore they can't really experience anything. The best they could do would be like the equivalent of us watching a movie. And as you know, watching a movie can be great and all, but that's not the same as having been there experiencing it, right?
Right.
So I
So
think that that's where it comes in.
are we talking about a specific type of interdimensional being or just a hypothetical interdimensional being or?
I don't know that it matters.
Okay.
I think that making it into this type or that type or what it is or what it intends on doing or where it's from, I think that's all just confusion method because realistically, extra dimensionally, the space doesn't and time doesn't exist the same way. So like saying you're from here, what the fuck does that mean there? It doesn't mean anything.
Well, it bothers me when people automatically assume it's an extraterrestrial.
Right.
I think that traveling between dimensions or traveling to another time may be just as difficult or even less difficult than traveling to something that's 33 light years away without time distortion and all those other things that screw you up. So I start to wonder. That's why when on here, I always tell people it's extra dimensional, extra temporal, or it is extraterrestrial. It's extra something. Unlike you, I don't believe this is Earth technology, but I do believe that the aliens that we keep seeing in these spacecraft flying around, whatever you want to call them, these spacecraft that are flying around, I sometimes wonder if it's not other Earthlings that lived here before us and live in the depths of the ocean now. They see them coming in and out of the ocean all the time.
I mean, I don't know that I think that even though I have this like loose thought, I don't even know that I particularly believe that things exist outside of the solar system the way that we think they do. I
Really?
think
So,
that the solar, yeah, I think that a lot of what we see is actually mirrored reflections of different versions of ourselves.
ooh, yeah, but that shit out there don't look like us.
Yeah, but that's why
I'm
it's
not being
different from
argumentative. I'm just
itself.
counterpointing.
No, no, no,
Yeah.
no. I'm just saying. But the idea behind it is that there's these differences of all these probabilities, and it just repeats over and over again. So when you're looking outward that way, you're just looking at the playing out of a different probability.
So instead
You
of the
know,
Earth is
like
flat, the universe is flat. You travel away from our solar system so far, and you would reach the end of existence.
well, you would it would probably be like a situation where like you actually couldn't get there unless if you were resonantly. It would be because it's out of phase with us. You know, you could see it
Okay,
because it's the
okay.
mirroring effect. So it's like you know, it's yeah, that's sort of what I think. I mean, I
Well,
don't
that
believe
fits
that
with one of my theories
100%,
that
but I think that that's pretty solid. You
I
know,
said this on the air down here one time. I tell people all the time that the universe that we see is simply the inside of the petri dish,
oh
and
yeah,
that we are simply an experiment. We're probably in some kind of time dilation field. They're running us at 1,000 times speed. They're wanting to see how long it takes for us to destroy ourselves. But I tend to think that we are probably an experiment that some scientist is running in a lab somewhere, and we're the fungus growing in the bottom of this. And that's why no matter where we look into space, we see more space. You know, they took the Hubble telescope and they pointed it at a point in space that they thought was completely devoid of planets and nebula and things like that. And what they found was more planets and more nebula. And everything we put up now, we look further into space and we see more and more and more things that are different than what we've already seen. And it just seems to be an infinite thing. And I'm like, well, it's infinite because from our perspective, this petri dish that's only 3 inches wide, from our perspective, at our size, running at our time, it does look like an infinite amount of space that's between us and the edge of the petri dish. And so that's that. I said that on the air one night, and I freaked some people out apparently.
yep.
But I
Well, you can't
sometimes
see the
think that
wood
we're
through
an
the trees.
experiment.
Yeah, right. You can't see the woods through the trees. That's just what it comes down to, you know. And
Yep.
and I agree. It's all relative, perspective based, and you know, it's impossible to really tell. You know, it's really impossible to tell what's going on here without being outside of here looking in. You know, you
Yep.
lack the perspective. So, you know, yeah, I mean, it's all the same kind of idea. And again, I mean, it's all kind of theoretical as far as any of it's concerned. I don't proudly hold on to any of these beliefs all that much, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't put any banking behind any of these theories or anything else because I also, I'm also Christian and I do believe that there is a higher power at work here. And I think all of these things we've talked about, including what I just said, are all intertwined in the one amazing universe that we live in, whether it be in a petri dish or a drop in a big bucket or the entire thing, and we just don't know. I think it's an amazing thing. All right, anything
It's
else
an
on
amazing
the ghost stuff? There was a question. Someone asked, and I've lost it now. Let me go back and look. I'll tell you what the question was. Have you heard of the TR-3B, the Black Manta? It's a secret U.S. anti-gravity spacecraft. I don't know anything about it. If you guys do, let me know. If not, we'll move on.
Papa, you know anything about
That was
that?
Deploribus. Deploribus asked, "Is he familiar with the TR-3B?" And then I looked it up. That's the Black Mantis, the secret U.S. anti-gravity aircraft.
So, I mean, this is my level of familiarity. It's a triangle. It's got
Yes.
lights on the bottom.
Yes.
It's black. It's been sighted throughout mostly the United States, but throughout the world over the last, I think, 3 or 4 decades. It probably was related to those Phoenix lights, whenever that was, if I, you know, and I mean, I've heard this. I mean, but I think that there is a need for anti-gravity devices, or else I probably wouldn't be participating in the sorts of things that I do with Nathan. But at the same time, I do think that the same means of travel and things like that are probably like most effective without any equipment whatsoever through like psychic means personally, you know. Like, and I've had my own experiences with these things, and
Me
that's
too.
my belief.
Heck yeah.
Wow. All right.
So
Let's see.
I don't think we need the spacecraft as much as people think that we do. You know?
Bring it all to you.
Yeah.
Well,
I
you're
think that the way out is from within. You know?
no, I agree with that specifically. I do, but you're pissing all over my Star Trek parade. I was
Yeah,
really
my
hoping
bad.
for warp drive and inertial dampening, but hey,
It doesn't mean that it won't happen. Physical
it
reality is
just
a
ain't
real
going
thing, and we
nowhere.
gotta
Why build
listen.
it? Why
Physical
build a
reality is a
ship?
real thing.
I don't want to build a ship to go to SETI Alpha 3 if there is no SETI Alpha 3. If you know what I mean.
You're right. I mean, it's a weird thing. I think that there's always a practical use because this is our reality, and navigating it is seemingly the biggest obstacle, right?
Well, the solar system, even if that's all that existed, and I don't believe that, but I understand what you're saying, and I see the logic there. But if that was the case, we would still have all the resources available in this solar system to us. So there is still a need to go to space, I think, or a good desire to go to space.
Well, it's as long as it's a physical place, then there's a need for the physical means of transport.
Have you either of you guys ever studied or want to talk about near-death experience?
Yes.
Somebody mentioned that. Go ahead, if you believe in
Yeah.
that.
Well, I actually had a really like strong experience. It
Well, that
involved
counts.
like 10 people that weren't related, and they all got together to save my life. It was pretty awesome.
You want to tell us a story real
Um,
quick? Go ahead.
yeah. Like, so we were on Isle Royal. I was camping with a bunch of friends on Isle Royal, and I went into renal failure,
Oh,
and we were 10 miles from either shore, and they threw me on my backpack and carried me 10 miles to the shore, and there just happened to be a woman and her husband there with a sailboat. Me and my group and this sailboat family were the only people on the island at the time. Except that, the two main campgrounds, one was Rock Harbor. Well, so they took me on a sailboat to Rock Harbor, and then from Rock Harbor, the helicopter came and got me and took me. But like in between, somewhere in there, I was dead.
oh
And
wow.
if everybody wasn't where they were at that exact particular point in time, I wouldn't have made it to the hospital for them to like basically what they did is they just shot me full of fluids, and my luckily my kidneys started working again. But yeah, my camp group and just the two people down on the water with the sailboat, man, if it wasn't for them, I'd be dead. And it was like they were the only. It was so weird because it's like everybody that was on the island at the time was involved with this. But that
So
was
while
back
you
when
were
I was.
dead, what did you experience?
It. Well, like I want to say Lord of the Rings when he puts the ring on, kind of like that. Everything was really distorted, and I was alone.
Oh wow. I think it's
And
very. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I thought you were done.
oh no, that yeah, I mean, I was alone, and it was very, very like, well, exactly like I said, man. He puts the ring on, and everything just kind of goes black and wavy. That's what I experienced.
Wow. I think it's very interesting that about 60% or more of people that have NDEs or near death experiences experience kind of the same thing. And that's a fairly high degree of correlation, 60% of these things. And those numbers vary depending on who took the poll and where it was taken. But a lot of people that have had these NDEs believe that they go through a tunnel and that they actually see faces of people they knew on the other side. And so, if nothing else, these NDEs have given people a lot of hope over the years. But I tend to think there's more to it than that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I didn't walk through the tunnel. I kind of stayed.
Well, maybe you weren't quite as gone as some of these other people. I
Yeah.
mean, a lot of these people are like getting shocks. They're in VFib, VTAC, and they're getting
Yeah.
shocks with a defibrillator. Maybe you weren't quite that far down the tunnel, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, probably not. Definitely, my heart was okay. Um, but what are we trying to say? The image of the tunnel is like very clear, like
Right.
but distorted, and that I don't know exactly how to explain it,
Wow.
other
That's
Um,
crazy.
than the
I never
ring on
had
the
a
finger.
near death. Yeah, I never had a near death experience, but I had something really illuminating happen to me. I mean, I've had many illuminating things happen to me, but the one that comes to mind is I had had a dream. You know, I was like maybe like 21, 22, and I had this dream, and the dream was so real. It was one of those dreams that you wake up from and you fully believe and know what just happened, and the reality of this dream was that, I had gotten a phone call, and it was a woman on the other side of the phone screaming and crying that he was dead, and I, knew who she was talking about, and it was my dad, and I was so scared that like, I knew he was gone, but then I was like kind of remembering other things. I was like, no, I mean, I don't know. I remember him being in his room or whatever. So I like went to go check on him, and he was like kind of there. But less than a week later, he went to the hospital because he wasn't feeling that great, whatever. But it was normal. And I was talking to him. He was in the hospital for like a better part of a day. And I had talked to him multiple times. There was nothing screaming, dying. Plus he was in the hospital. Well, I got that phone call later the next day from my aunt. Um, you know, and he had coded like multiple times, and they didn't think they were going to be able to save him. They ended up saving him. He ended up having a very severe traumatic brain injury because he coded out for so long,
Right.
so many times. But the same exact thing that happened in the dream happened in real life a week later. It was very strange, and definitely made me, you know, beyond belief. There's certain things that happen, you experience in your life that takes you from like, oh yeah, I believe that, I believe this, to knowing, and that changed my entire perspective on just how things work.
Yep.
I mean, there was another time that like I experienced something a little more directly. I was younger than this, and I was pretty stupid, but like I was like a teenager, and I don't know, I was like messing around with like lawnmower or whatever I was doing, and I couldn't get it started, so I hit it with some starting fluid, and I was like, yo, this stuff bangs you up. So I literally
Yeah.
just like sprayed some starting fluid on like the rag, and I was like, let me see about this real quick. And all I can tell you is it was the most horrifying slash illuminating thing that's ever occurred to me in my entire life, I think, because like I saw the entire fabric of reality and I was part of it. It was super strange.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a good one.
That's
Yeah, that
cool.
one was strange.
Well, I'll just give you about 5 sentences on mine real quick since you guys shared so much. My whole ghost hunting thing started when I was 15, and my grandmother visited me. She was at a nursing home. She visited me in my bed one night. She was on top of me, but she was trying to tell me something, and it scared the shit out of me. And I jumped up and ran out. My parents thought it was a bad dream, and I slept on the floor in their room. We got a call the next morning. She had passed. And ever since then, I did ghost stuff. I've been interested in the afterlife and reincarnation in Christianity. I've been very interested in the science side, and not as much in the religious side, but I'm very interested in all the different angles when it comes to death and the afterlife and what happens to our soul when we cease to exist here corporally. And so I just that's my story, and it's a long story. That's the short version, but I'm 100% sure I smelled that woman. I heard her. I knew it was her. And you know, wow. And how do you? I mean, I've never had an experience in 15 years. I have one, and she's dead. You know, it's like, how can you dispute that? How can you call that random chance or some kind of horse shit? And so, to me, that's proof. That's my personal proof.
Well,
And so
we'll have to get back together some other time and swap some more ghost stories, because
we will.
I have some of those, and they're really really out there, you know, and none of them are stories. It's all real stuff. So.
Well, and I've got some. You got some. We'll do it. Well, maybe we'll do it another night in a few weeks if you want. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Why don't we go ahead? Because we don't really take breaks. We got about 30, 40 minutes left. Why don't you go ahead right now and take the time you want to do that last topic? Wasn't there one last topic?
So, I mean, so I touched on it a little bit before, but I mean, I kind of glossed it over. So the idea is that there's static potential, you know, on Earth. Okay,
Yes.
and when there's geological events, as we're going to consider them, right? We perceive that as like, well, there's friction and then there's static, right? I mean, I don't think that that's exactly how it goes exactly, but um, uh, at the same time, there is this truth to the fact that the Earth is a massive amount of negative energy potential. Okay, and at the crust is where it's in a state of diffusion. Okay, with the atmospheric energy. And the atmospheric energy is also in a state of diffusion at the crust. You see, they're inverse. So you have the highest energy potential of the Earth energy at its core, and you have the highest energy potential of the atmospheric energy all the way up, you know, at the you know, highest points where our atmosphere meets space in the magnetosphere. Okay, and it's diffused out from both of those points, and its point of asymmetric equilibrium exchange, you know, where it's most stable, not exactly in equilibrium, but it's where it's stable, is at the crust. And that's why the crust forms where it does, right? Now you have these events at the crust where you have the moving plates and so on and so forth, and these are all energetic events, and therefore they draw higher energy density levels of the potential to those event zones. Okay, and when you have a higher degree of energy potential on the negative side, the thing about positive and negative, and we all know this, is they always chase to connect. They want to connect. This is what a lightning bolt is, right? So when you see a lightning bolt, what a lot of people don't know is that it doesn't come from the clouds and strike the ground. Okay, it pulls those high energy density potentials, right? They're about to discharge, and that pulls higher energy density Earth energy from the crust upwards to make that connection. Like tendrils, they're basically inverse lightning bolts. You know, they're cold lightning bolts, if you want to think about it that way. That it pulls from the ground to make that connection because they're attracted to each other. And that those are the events, right, where you know, it becomes most apparent that you know, that this relationship of energy exchange exists. But that energy exchange is happening all the time. When you have the geological events and you increase your energy density potential in the ground state of the Earth, okay, the same exact thing happens when you have a nasty thunderstorm up ahead. Okay, when you have the nasty thunderstorm up ahead, that's higher, and it's going to pull that all together and up. This is opposite. This is higher there, and it's actually going to pull higher energy densities in the atmospheric energy to make that reverse connection, which is why you see lightning storms so prevalently associated with natural geological earth events. Okay. Um, so that's sort of first and foremost. I mean, it goes a lot deeper than that. I mean, you could connect pyramids to the same exact phenomenon. But I think one thing, and it's probably relevant to like a lot of the stuff you show on the screen and whatnot, because you have a lot of weather events and stuff. Clouds are plasma. You know, they're
Right.
high charged particles in various states of density that are accumulating in condensation and organizing in a state of motion. Okay. And that's like, you know, people don't have their head around that a lot of times, that clouds are plasmatic in their nature. You know, and magma is plasmatic in its nature. You see, it's just different density levels, but different of two opposite sides.
Yeah. Trying to see if there's a question here. All right, guys. Yeah, if you have any questions, put them in caps so we can see them. Also, please subscribe to Old Man Builds. I've got a direct link in there that will take you right to the subscribe button. It's a pinned comment in there, and I made Old Man Builds a moderator, so they're in there also in the chat room. So but yeah, and thank you guys for coming on. We've still got a little bit of time if you do. What else would you guys? Is there any other questions on what we've been talking about that you guys would like to ask? Put it in now. If not, we can take a few more minutes and see what else there is to talk about.
Yo, Supreme Court took an AR-15 case.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been waiting for that one.
Yeah, I haven't even caught up with that yet. We tonight on the other show, we spent an entire hour dealing with the deal with birthright citizenship. And so, yeah, I just, you know, birthright citizenship was put in there to make sure that when the slaves were released, that them and their children would be able to continue living here as citizens. It was an important thing. And now it's been used and bastardized by people from all over the world. And so, you know, I don't believe in it. I don't believe in it. I think that if you're born to one legal parent, then okay, we're good, we're in. But you can't be born to two illegal immigrants, and then now you're the anchor baby and they can stay. And that's what's going on. We can't allow that incentive. Remember, guys, it's not about the people. It's not about the sadness of the situation. It's about not making it look like they need to come here and do this, because when you start baiting these people like the Democrats have been doing, they're all going to start hoarding in here like this, and now we have to do unpleasant things like deport them and change our laws and things like that. SCOTUS did shoot this down.
We're the only ones that do it. We're the only ones that do it.
Yes, we are. We're one of, I think, 3 countries in the world or some shit that has birthright citizenship. It's crazy.
You know, go to Japan, drop a baby, you know, in the hotel or whatever, and then try to tell them that they owe you something.
Yeah, they'll put you on a boat.
Damn right, faster than you know.
Yeah, we're one of the only.
Nobody's turned.
What he's saying, it's absolutely true. We're one of the only countries in the world where you can drop a kid and that kid becomes a citizen on the soil that he lands on. It's not like that most places in the country. And you know, it's not racist or a small heart or whatever. This is our country and they broke in. It's almost like when they start this stuff, I tell people, is it okay if I break in your house and I drink some of your beer out of your fridge and I watch your TV? Well, before you answer, I cleaned the whole house. I vacuumed, I mowed the lawn. I did a good job. I worked hard for you. No, it's not okay. You're still a burglar and you stole my beer. And I think that's where we're at here. You can come here with good intentions. You can come here and work hard. But that doesn't mean you're legal, and it doesn't mean you're paying taxes, and it doesn't mean you should be doing it. So,
no, we are very quick to forget that we are a nation of immigrants, but there was a process that
Yes.
occurred and a process that was enforced. And you had to get your papers in order before you got on the boat. Now, if you got on the boat and you didn't have the papers, they didn't necessarily send you back. But guess what? If you had your papers and you didn't meet certain criterias, they sent you back.
Yep.
That was it. It didn't matter that you just packed up your life, sold all your stuff, moved your entire family, et cetera, et cetera. If you didn't pass the health screening, if you seemed like you were mentally off, if, you know, whatever their criteria was, you know, if you didn't pass it, you got sent back. And guess what? You never even got to lay your foot on our soil. You never made it to mainland America. They just turned you around. That was it.
Yep. You went back on the boat you showed up on. Yeah. No, and
Damn
that's
right.
it. And so, yeah, and I just think that this has gotten so blown out of proportion. And it's funny because all these Democrat presidents up into Biden, they all deported millions of people. Barack Obama, 10 million, I think. 13 million for Bill Clinton. I like deporting them fast. And I mean, it just, but now all of a sudden they need these people to backfill because of the coming top of the year census, top of the decade census is coming up. And they have to backfill all these people in order to not lose a bunch of congressional seats, because Florida's going to be taking 4 blue congressional seats this next time around. That's my prediction. We're taking 4 of them. I want one from New York. I want one from New Jersey. And I'll figure out where I want the other ones from.
I mean, all I can say, Ian, is that is a pretty damn good, you know, Arkansas elite impression for a Floridian. No, not too bad.
Well, it's not so bad. Yeah, I do.
Not so bad.
I'm very happy with the oval, if you know what I mean. It's like what you could do with a cigar. Anyway, I used to do a lot of impressions. I don't do as many anymore. As I've gotten older, I've lost a bunch of them, but I used to do
Here,
a lot of them.
wrap this around your lips.
Yeah, there you go. Oh my Lord! I got to do H. Ross Perot a while back because he passed away.
Yeah.
I used to. It got to the point where nobody knew who he was anymore. Man, I got charts and graphs. I'm going to show you how it works. But yeah, I love doing. I love doing a bunch of different ones. But the problem is, it got so bad you couldn't do any accents anymore. You know, you come out and go, hello, no, get out now. You know, you do that. Oh, you're off the air. You're done, buddy. You're done. Make fun of a Middle Easterner, you bastard. You know, and I don't give a shit.
From The Simpsons.
Yeah. Hello, Homer Simpson. This is not the reading library. Get your drink and go. But there was a time just 4 years ago where I would have been beheaded for saying that on here, probably. I already kind of get shadow banned from YouTube. It's very difficult for me to make subscribers. I've been losing subscribers for 4 months straight.
Me too.
Yeah, it just keeps going down and going down and going down. So I start to wonder if I'm have some kind of shadow banning going on or something, because I'm a conservative, because I get very conservative on here. And I start to wonder. I mean, I'm a libertarian. I'm a constitutionalist libertarian. I'm to the right of the conservatives. So I believe.
Yeah, I hear you there, man.
Yeah, I'm a closed border libertarian. Let me make that clear. I'm a closed border libertarian. I believe we should build a big ass wall, and then we don't need government inside that much. I believe that the government is the root of all problems, the root of all evil, the beginning and the end of all of your issues. If you want to start a business, you'll hate the government by the time you get it open. I'm telling you. You'll see these people coming. The government.
You'll hate them even more when you get your first tax bill.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know. It's terrible. I don't know how businesses can start up anymore. Now, see, these YouTube things like I'm doing here. You know, I make a little money here. I like this. It's good. But it's taken me forever to get where I'm at. And people that have to go out and like buy a restaurant and buy cookery and put it all in and get insurance and buy tables and get employees. And I mean, when you start looking at it, and then you have to deal with code enforcement and fire enforcement and all these other people that come in, the government is literally out to keep you out of business. And then if you do get in business by the grace of God, you got to work really hard to pay their taxes and to stay in their good graces. After these hurricanes, we've watched all these small business owners pack up and leave because they wouldn't let them build their little buildings back.
It's out of control. If you like were to take just a simple hamburger that were made out of a bun, a patty, and a piece of cheese, and that was it. Okay. And then you trace these production lines and distribution lines, etc., back through all the hands that ever had to touch it. And then you realize how much tax money has been skimmed off of every single step in that process to get a hamburger in front of you. And then you sit there and wonder why you bought it from the grocery store to make it at home to save money, but it still cost you $4.
Yep.
Right? Like, and you're like, well, why? Why did it cost me $4? And then you realize because $3 and probably 70 cents of it was realistically skimmed right off from taxes along the way. And it's out of control. So it's bad. It's real bad. And like you said, the bureaucratic red tape, starting a business, forget it. You have to get an LLC to cover your ass first and foremost, but then you have to go and file for this and that, depending on where you are, with state, local, town, 4 or 5 different levels of bureaucratic nonsense that all have intertwined yet conflicting standards that you have to meet in sequence and order and pay for.
Not to mention that loan you're going to have to take out. Not to mention that loan you're going to have to take out, though.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, for many people, that's the reality. But even if you're not taking a loan, even if you're just trying to do something small from home, let's say you just want to make, you want to make bars of soap, but you want to sell them in more than just the farmer's market or something. You used to be able to do that, right? Like, you used to be able to have like a little startup and sell your damn bars of soap. Now, by the time you're done and then you start distributing it, there's a reason why a lot of small companies like that never cross state lines. It's because once you cross a state line, now you're in a whole different set of, compliances that you have to be a part of, a whole different set of liabilities that you have to watch out for, and then be insured for all of it. And it falls apart quickly when you want to expand. So if you're doing it to make a couple of nickels, nobody says anything. It's fine. But you're never gonna take it to that American dream level with the system that they have currently in play. It's just too much red tape to jump through in the first place.
All right, guys, real quick, they're asking for you guys' links and stuff. Papa, is there a link or a social media
Yanni's got it.
Yanni's got it?
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. Okay, see, you guys already took care of it. Okay, thank you. I was reading further up the list. Okay, there we go. I just wanted to make sure. And if there's any other links you guys want to put out or any promos for your show or tell us what you got coming up.
So I mean, I'm Joe. I work with Nathan on Old Man Builds. Nathan always has a lot of great projects going on. I know currently, he's working with, the new sensor arrays and getting all that worked out so we can have some better measurements on the type of experiments that we're working on. I work on the analytics end of it. And Nathan and I have a show every Friday at 5 Eastern on Old Man Build's channel. Him and I talk about everything and anything connecting the dots in science, physics, and the fundamental nature of reality. So,
hey, Joe. I'm really curious as to how that sensor array would work on one of my counter-rotating pulse motors.
It'd be interesting. It'd be cool to see if it's throwing off, alternating field geometries and see what the level of magnetic coupling is. And I know that array is absolutely capable of doing that. So it would be interesting to know. I think that the field geometries that you get would be extraordinarily similar to probably the Bandini. So I know that,
Yeah.
I mean, I know that Nathan's going to be running testing on the Bendini, and I think that that should give somewhat of a baseline as to sort of what you have going on too. Yeah, I know that the configuration's a little different and everything, but
Yeah.
you could kind of, if you could see the one interaction, you know, you could use your imagination to kind of map out what yours is doing at that point, I think, you know.
I'll stay posted.
Right on. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing that myself. So
And I want to also oh shit, what was I gonna say? Um, before we let you guys go, we'll get together again because this is a lot of fun. I like doing this. I love having you guys on, and the discussions are so deep and different. And now that I know you're into the spiritual side and the paranormal side and all that, I've got a lot more really cool stuff to talk to you guys about and stuff. Listen,
awesome.
one of the things I thought would be cool, something I always wanted to do with ghost hunting, and we kind of did it a couple times, but it never really we never didn't have the technology back then. An experiment that's broadcast live. I want to find an experiment that we mean you and me and everybody else that you want to get involved with. It could broadcast live. We could cover it live. We could bring it. I could put it up on the screen at night, and people could watch it here while I'm live, and we could use it as a cross promotion. But I just thought it would be really cool to have something, even if it's one of these perpetual motion devices or something like that, that we could show working. And then we could even get fancy and show like use some kind of speed gun or something so that we could figure out the RPMs. You know, we could really do some cool stuff, and and use your experiment not only as an experiment, but also as a way to interest people in science and to expand our footprint.
Sounds good.
Right
So just
on.
keep that in mind. If you guys want to do something, let me know because I will. We could
Yeah.
talk about it.
I mean, if you like the paranormal stuff, I mean, I can't really tell you how it would pan out
Well,
because
that's
again,
how we were going to do it, but I'm talking more about your science experiments. Now, you got a house sitting somewhere with internet that nobody lives in. Let's do a ghost cam. But
yeah,
no,
yeah.
yeah,
There's a point that I'm making. So, I mean, like for instance, I have a Tesla coil. Okay, and you know, if under certain settings and certain conditions, you know, like it could make kind of a strange environment, you know, where but like I don't know because here's okay, here's the consistent thing, and this will ring true to things that you've heard before. The stuff is almost impossible to capture on film ever.
yes, and and what's more
You know,
impossible than capturing it is repeating it, and that's science.
yeah, yeah. It tends to be it
It's
has to
fleeting.
do with the resonance of it. It has to do with its electromagnetic interference of it. It has to do with the subjectivity of it. Like you
I
know,
think it's got to do with the orbit of the moon. It's got to do with everything.
yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I actually saw a UFO one time, and it was a very crazy experience. Like, and I managed to get a photo of it.
Hmm.
The thing is that I took like 10 photos of it and a video, and I all I got out of it was one shitty photo where it was almost out of frame.
Right.
So, uh, cool, you know. But I know that I took all those photos. You know, like I
Yeah.
physically heard the snap, saw the
I
picture
live
going
right
through
next
the
to
phone.
Selfridge Air National Guard Base. We get lots of quote unquote strange things in the sky. I saw like five orbs just floating over the school,
Oh
and it
wow.
went straight. And then it was making moves that you can't make you know what I'm saying, in a craft that we know about.
Yeah. What was weird about the one I saw, and I've seen stuff move around weird, but the one I was talking about, it didn't move at all. And
Okay.
that's what was strange about it. Just totally sitting there,
Floating
not
there.
moving, not bobbing, not no sound. You know, light that didn't. It was so bright it would blind you, but it didn't. It wasn't shining on anything. It was super strange, and it was low. Yeah, really strange.
That's awesome,
All right,
dude.
guys, I
Yeah.
adjusted the sound a little bit. I don't know why sometimes my mic goes low. I don't know why it does that. Let's see if I can how's that? That should be a little better, hopefully. I think I got to change the battery in this mic. Check, check, check. There we go.
Good,
I'll
good.
leave it like that. That should
You're
even it
good.
back out. All right. Yeah, we're going to be going soon, guys. It's getting late. It's 10:48 on the East Coast, 7:48 on the left coast, behind enemy lines. And yeah, well, it is what it is. Let's see. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about or bring up real quick? Now's the time.
Thanks
You know,
for
one of the
having me on your
biggest
show.
myths. One of the biggest myths about the Boston Tea Party was that it was black tea. Did you know 50% of the tea that was thrown into the water was actually green tea? I didn't know that. I learned that today. That's today's Quinky Dink for you right there.
Very cool. I had no idea.
Yeah, and it's so important too. All right, and remember, guys, the 250th anniversary of our country coming up this Saturday. Make sure you celebrate. Put up a flag you don't normally put up, and do something crazy without blowing your fingers off. And it's going to be a lot of fun. We will be here live on July 4th. We're going to be live here probably about 5 in the evening. I'm going to go live, and I'm going to stay live all night. And we're going to have up all the different displays and all the ceremonies and some of the different things going on. I can't carry the bands and the music, but I can carry everything else. So I'm going to be carrying a lot of the celebrations that night, and we'll be here to go through it together because all my friends and family are out of town. So, so I'm basically here by myself. So we're going to spend it together here on the channel. So look for that. And I guess that's about it. Anything else, guys?
No, I appreciate you having me back, Ian. I look forward to the next time, and I hope everybody out there enjoyed the show today. And keep the questions coming into Dispatch Center. If you have any for the next time I come around, I'd be more than happy to touch on the subjects that you guys are interested in. So.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, there's one more question here. We got time. There's one. I don't have a time limit. I just normally sign off about 11 o'clock, especially when the AC's not working, and the cat just knocked the fan out the door.
Question. I see the question. So they want me to explain my plasma inside of a quartz crystal and whether or not I feel it's a critical part of anti-gravity. So that's a good question. So I do an experiment where we create a resonant arc vortex without going too far into that. More or less, you're creating an arc between a resistor where there's an offset differential between the anode and the cathode. It creates a high density plasma state that makes a connection with each other on both sides, and then forms basically a miniature rotating sun, which is the resonant arc vortex, the RAV. So I formed the RAV, and I do so on top of a piece of quartz crystal. And the way that I get it into the crystal is I preset the condition of the resistor, of the resisting material below. Once the condition is set below, it always wants to form on that spot. So by placing the quartz directly on top of that spot, the arc is always wanting to try to get through to that particular piece. What that does is it forces the quartz crystal into high energy saturation with the plasma ions traveling around and into the crystal lattice itself. Once the density levels get high enough and the magnetic coupling kicks in between the sides, it forms that little sun thing, except it's inside of the solid quartz material. So you have to get your head around this real quick because it's crazy. You have high charged particles that are actual matter material particles that are condensed into the point where it's a sun. Probably hundreds of thousands of degrees, okay? And these moving particles are physically inserted into the solid material of the quartz crystal. Now, because the quartz crystal is the piezoelectric, it then has an amplification effect because once you put that lattice structure under stress, it creates a high voltage electrical current and frequency of its own. So now, in my particular experiment, I got the sun thing, the RAV, to form inside of the piece of quartz, except there was it was forced resonance. So the resonance of my system did not match the native resonance of the quartz, which is like uh 32 kilohertz or something like that, like 32,000 hertz and change. Pardon me. And because it was out of resonance, okay, it was incoherent. The plasma started dematerializing the lattice structure of the quartz crystal, blowing the piece of quartz apart into pieces.
Oh, wow.
Here's the crazy thing: the quartz wasn't hot when it blew up, despite being exposed to super hot plasma and basically the sun for probably about 2 or 3 minutes before it failed. So I was able to do that. Do I think that quartz is a critical part of UFOs? Yes and no. I think that there's more than one way to skin a cat. I think that quartz crystal is definitely a good way to exploit the properties of the resonant or vortex that we form. You know, so I think that it can be critical and crucial in that matter. Do I think that that's the only way to do it? I don't.
Refined quartzite.
Hmm?
Quartzite.
Yeah, what about quartzite though?
I believe that it is a refined quartz material that removes all the unnecessary parts of the crystal.
I mean, not so much in my. I mean, here, check this piece of quartz out.
Oh, wow, that thing is awesome.
Oh, nice.
Double terminated. You know, very high purity. I mean, it's fractured, but very, very high purity. You know, I mean, or this piece, for instance, extraordinary geometry, perfect.
Beautiful. That's beautiful.
Okay,
Yeah.
flawless, and as good a specimen as you could ever get natural quartz. You know, like quartzite is in, you know, like it doesn't have the same piezoelectric properties because quartzite itself is, you know, it has more than just you know, silicon dioxide in it. But, you know, that's been my experience with it. I don't know, like there's a lot of different materials that have really interesting effects. But if you want the pure amplification, you want the clean lattice structure, the more pure your quartz is, the better off you are. And quartzite is mostly like vein quartz. So there's stuff in there that's not just SiO2.
Okay.
And I mined all the stuff that I just showed you, by the way. I've dug all this stuff out of, you know.
Yeah, I know where you got it from. Yeah, hell yeah. That place is awesome.
Yeah. I break my ass over there like every couple of weekends. I go and I spend like 10 hours breaking the side of a mountain open to find the stuff. So
That's beautiful, man.
Oh, I got a
Right
cabin up in the mountains, and I love looking for stones. I love looking for. I'll get buckets and go through them. I'm looking for stones. I love the smoke quartz, rose quartz. I love all of it, but amethyst is my favorite, absolutely, which is another quartz. But yeah.
no, I love rocks.
I'm a rocks and minerals guy. I really am. I've got big rock collection. I've got. As a matter of fact, I was just showing, just literally yesterday or a couple of days ago. I was just showing them. I got one of these geodes like this. This is a part of a geode, an amethyst geode. I've got a half of one in there that's about this tall. It's in my house. Big, awesome. Huge thing. I love collecting. I got a piece of rose quartz that looks like a boulder. It's about this big. My grandmother gave it to me. She's where I got my love for quartz and my love for rocks. But, yeah. And then I got into radios, which all started using crystals. That's how it all started. So kind of a unique twist there. I actually have a couple of repeaters here.
They had to cut the quartz crystals on a hyper-specific axis. Okay, this is it's excellent you brought that up because now here let's look at this piece of quartz, right? See how there's a termination now? Most courts, like 99.999% of courts in the world, gonna have one termination. This has two.
Right.
Super interesting because that dynamic is something else to get your head around. But pretend it has just one. They used to have people that used to just have to identify, where the termination point was, so they know what the growth axes were. Because then what they'd have to do is situate the crystal at a hyper-specific angle. Okay, and then they'd have to slice it at that angle because they'd be getting sub portions of the lattice structure, and that's deterministic of the frequency bands that you'd be able to pick up on, is based on the axis that you're cutting from the growth. So when you cut it at a specific angle, it's going to give you a certain band, a certain frequency band that you now have access to from that one quartz crystal. Wow. If you cut it ever so slightly off, it doesn't work.
It's dead, yeah. We actually had a radio crystal place that made them here. Ironically enough, it was the first thing on the road, so it's on Crystal Drive. But yeah, it's out of business now, but a long time ago. But they used to actually make radio crystals, and Motorola was a purchaser of theirs originally. But yeah, they made radio crystals. I used to think that was just so cool. All right, guys, anything else? I think we're going to go ahead and call it a night. I do appreciate everybody coming in. Guys, do you have anything else before we go? Promo your show.
No.
When's your next show coming up?
My next show?
Or is it just shows or videos, whatever you guys want to promote, anything?
Oh yeah, I'm posting at least once a day, and I try and do a live like every week.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, well, check
I'm
that
on
out.
Fridays
And if you're...
on Old Man Bill, 5 p.m. Eastern time. I don't know if I'm going to be on this weekend or not. I got to talk to Nathan. We'll see how we go. But, it's a holiday weekend coming up. USA
right.
250, I'm all about it.
There you go. So there you go. Check Old Man Builds out, and also check out Papa Bale. Both have YouTube channels. And guys, if you haven't subscribed to their channels, please do. If you guys can throw those links back in. I've pinned the one link there. If you click that link I pinned, it will bring you right to a subscribe button for Old Man Builds. We're all having a hard time keeping subscribers right now. They're doing some kind of purge or something. I don't know what's going on, but I've lost about not quite 500, maybe like 400 and something subscribers in probably 3 or 4 months. And it just keeps going down and going down. Now, I mean, I got 26,000, so it's not like it's hurting my style quite yet. But you got to move back in the right direction at some point, right? I mean, anyway. All right, there's the links. There's both the links right there. So you guys give them a sub. And then if you haven't subscribed here yet, please do that as well. We've had over 700 viewers tonight. I do appreciate that, everybody. Thank you very much. And we're going to go ahead and sign off, and I'll see you guys on the next time you guys come on. You're welcome anytime in my chat room that we're on, and we can bring you on. If something comes up or you get something working and you want to go live with it, just let me know. We'll put you right on.
Thank you.
All right. Yep. All right. Well, good night, guys, and everybody out there. My name's Ian. This is StarShip Adventures. And the Sights and Sounds of Earth, broadcasting live from North Fort Myers, Florida, on YouTube, the world's largest broadcast platform. And we are glass all the way to the internet, baby. And this is it. We'll be back tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern for another episode of the Sights and Sounds of Earth right here on StarShip Adventures. Please join us then, everybody. And we will see you next time. Have a good night, everybody. 7-3. This is the YouTube channel Starship Adventures, broadcasting live from Starship Studios in North Fort Myers, Florida, in the United States of America. We thank you for joining us this evening for another broadcast of the Sights and Sounds of Earth, covering every breaking news story across this troubled planet of ours. We brought you the raw, unfiltered pulse of the world in real time through our unique multi-screen format, broadcasting in high definition worldwide via fiber optic connection. Starship Adventures, a new kind of YouTube content. To our regular viewers, our loyal crew members, our amazing moderators, and everyone who tunes in each night at 9 p.m. Eastern, we thank you. Your support keeps this independent voice alive and well. We'll be back tomorrow evening at 9 p.m. Eastern with another live edition of the Sights and Sounds of Earth, right here on Starship Adventures. Until then, stay safe, stay informed, and may God bless you and these United States of America. This is Starship Adventures, and this concludes our broadcast day. Good night, America, and around the world. Kilo Oscar 4, Echo Foxtrot Sierra, signing off. QSY, 7-3s, everyone, 7-3s.